And we are live. Good afternoon. Welcome to Talking Pop Culture with Jake D. Joining me today is Draco Argentis. Say hello.
Hey, all you out there.
How are things treating you today, sir?
Oh, not too bad. We're not being treated too harshly on this fine pre-Labor Day work up to the big party day everybody waits for. But now, kind of this time of year is not as much as a party day as we expected, but still.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. It's gonna be. I was treated to a 4-day weekend myself this week. A company that I work for has given us just sort of 2 out of the blue random company holidays, and they decided to give us one on Friday, which was kind of nice.
Here's a holiday for you. You must take it now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they gave us about 10 days notice. Like, all right, yeah, I guess I'll take the day off.
Okay, just not work that day. Okay.
Why not, man? Now, Draco, I just you are having to work today. Did I hear that right earlier?
Yes. It was not without volunteering, but yes. At least as long as things stay the same here. I mean, nothing has blown up. Nothing has come crashing down yet. And I'm keeping a watch for it. Don't tell the fates.
We will not tempt them.
We don't truck with those ladies. They get issues. They have issues.
Indeed. Oh man. So I will tell you what, it has been a bit of an interesting week, Draco. I kept finding more and more stuff. It's like, oh man, we got to talk about that. Oh, we got to talk about that.
Yeah. Has it really? It's been interesting. How odd? How very, very odd.
You know, one thing that I have been impressed by with all of this lunacy that we are going throughout the world right now is that somehow the news and rumors and doings in pop culture have not slowed down.
You're being funny.
I'm blown away. We are still getting news and rumors and changes and things coming in, if anything, even at a more rapid pace than we were prior to March 16th. Oh,
the
man.
Engine is starting to turn again creakily. Someone got to get some oil in those pinions.
Yeah. So The Boys, for me, The Boys is kind of the number one story for this weekend. Have you had an opportunity to watch it yet, Draco?
Yes, I have. The boys are back in town.
I'd offer to join in with you, but you really don't want to hear my singing voice, I promise. I am no doomcock.
That's all right. Not everyone is.
Oh, man, I am highly envious of the fact that he took a copyright strike for an a cappella rendition of a song one time. That's pretty impressive work.
It happens more often than you think. But we're not going to go there because I have a very strong opinion on that, and I really don't need to bring that over here to your channel.
Fair enough, sir. Fair enough. So give me your initial reaction to The Boys. You've seen the first 3 episodes, I'm guessing?
Yes. Now, from my point of view, I am also not... I have not read the original material. I do not know if you have.
I have not. We're in the same place.
Okay. So let's just put it from anyone who wants to come see at this, where we are starting from, both of us, and you have asked me, but both of us are coming at this from, we're just looking at it as a piece of entertainment without knowing any sort of adaptation from the prior source. Okay.
Yes.
Now, my point of view on it was, I was very entertained, as much as I have been, from the whole previous first season. I have been a bit worried, as I believe you might even speak to this the more. You were concerned, because I think we were all concerned about certain things said by a creator concerning how this season might be written, how the season might play out. Now,
yeah, I actually have that queued up. Let's listen to it real quick.
Yes, this is
it's a great question. We were really interested in exploring the idea of authority figures get the public really riled up with xenophobia and racism. Ultimately, the most dangerous people are like the white dudes standing next to you.
Yeah.
Now, at the only thing in that statement, and I think you featured it on your own review, was particularly the tail end of that, where he refers, I mean, that we would be in this position, but he refers to a particular color when he's talking about the guy next to you. Now, that's very contemporary. That's very about, yes, very about that. We had to go there.
Yeah. And you know there was a little bit more in the interview as well that wasn't queued up in that quick vid that I played. I mean, he was going on about how, of course, Homelander's a bad father and a few other things.
Classic
there.
One, tick that box.
Yeah, he definitely ticked all the woke boxes when he went through this interview. And so I went into viewing these episodes very alert, shall we say, to
gun shy, we might also
say, at a minimum, and
ready to be shot down in a moment because things have been said. But go on.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expected to dislike it going into seeing these first 3 episodes, and I was shocked at how much I did enjoy all 3. The second episode was a little bit slow, but I also felt like it was some necessary setup to an extent, so I can certainly forgive that. You're going to have a slow episode or 2 in a 10-episode run.
Appropriate, yes.
There's not much avoiding it.
It is definitely possible, but we are also talking about the whole range of the ability of writers, especially writers in the current market, to produce reasonable content for the people who are going to consume it, for lack of more appropriate terms. So we go up there, all we want is the entertainment. And the thing is that there's been so much preachiness lately. You bring up that excellent point. Why would I not expect to be preached to? Why would I not expect one of the absolute minimum weak current, whether it's political or intersectional, any one of these things that are talking about ticking all those boxes. But in this particular case, I'm willing to say that maybe we, at least in this case, have someone who is willing to tell these stories from the point of view of the messages are going to be in there, but I'd rather tell the story first. And even better, which was one of the best things when I watched that first episode, is when they introduce our new Stormfront character, who is, as I understand it, a transfer from male to female. But
that is what I have heard as well.
The thing is that you introduce her. I mean, I don't know when this was written. I don't know when it was put together, when it was acted and assembled. But to make this particular character, not only to give certain aspects of her hairstyle that certain contemporary bent, but also to make the person from Portland and proud of it. I mean, it's too much. Too much. And that one, I mean, that genuinely, because that's topical and it's today, it might not age well, but it makes me laugh so much.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw that, and then that night, a guy in Portland caught himself on fire with his own Molotov cocktail. It was It was rather timely.
Turns it right back on its ear. And here we have we've got a highlight for Lord Thoth, who brings up how preferred. I'm kind of benting on he, and I do not know. So they they preferred Stormfront male in the comic, and it changes the whole dynamic, and that is absolutely possible. Now we're getting introduced to it. We're getting introduced to the character from the point of view of this medium. That's one thing about this. This is an adaptation. It's not necessarily better or worse, but if you've seen the original material, it's going to color it.
And absolutely.
Thank you very much for that. Bringing up Portland. How could you not see that? And she's so proud and happy about it. And it's like, oh my word.
It was, I think it may have added additional context and perception to her character that enhanced it even to an extent, right? I mean, this was in the can before Portland started burning. I mean, it definitely was. This thing was done. It was printed. It was ready to rock before, all the unrest that's been going on. And it was, to me, a little bit, I said it before, timely, right? That sort of
actually.
Yes. It kind of gets added to the background of her character, because there is not a soul who watched that did not think about those things when we heard she's from Portland.
I mean, you can even take that further. I don't know how far do we want to get? Do we want to just keep this on the one? Do we want to talk about all three?
Yeah, let's go through all three. Why not? I'm assuming anybody watching has seen them or doesn't care about if we get into some spoilers at this point.
Okay, so we're going to say we are going to have some spoilers, so we're going to say that now, put that up front. Try not to go further than having said it. And having said that, and giving appropriate amount of time for it, as much as the original character was male and should have been written for that, I do appreciate things like, at the very first, we're set up that, well, she's very current day. She knows where she stands, and she's unapologetic for it. You also have a female character cleaving on to Starbright, so giving sort of context for her decisions there. Mm-hmm. And it isn't brought in till later, but by the time we reach the third episode, you are shown some very obvious positions where this particular character, Stormfront, stands. You know exactly where she's coming from.
I mean, spoiler alert, she is one of those bad guys from Germany's, right?
Yep. Or at the very least, she's going to talk about people from that point of view. Yes. So we know where she's coming from. Even better, we don't have a whole lot of classification because this is a superhero show. So we don't know exactly where everybody stands as to how threatening one can be to the other. And since we're deconstructing the superheroes, we're not 100% certain who's bad, who's worse, who can stand up to another character. I mean, this is just from the point of view of being interested in the superhero-ness of it. I'm interested in finding more out about this more than I am about any narratives, because I am not immediately shut down by someone bringing up a thing that takes me right out of the story and into present day more than color, more than putting a little light on it to say, so now we know a little bit more about this. And it doesn't have to be today. It doesn't have to be 10 years ago. It doesn't have to be 10 years in the future. We can do this and speak about it. Go ahead.
One of the things that, so far at least, and I'm going to keep saying so far, because of that Kripke interview, I'm still on edge because of a lot of the things he said in that interview.
Do not trust.
I do not trust him right now. If we get through the end of the season and I'm still feeling the same way I am today, I will publicly offer him a mea culpa. You heard it here. It's going to be on my channel. I absolutely will give him a mea culpa if he earns it, but he's got to earn it at this point.
Absolutely.
So far, the story has been good. The story has been solid, and the story has been of number one importance, which is absolutely critical. If the story is not the most important thing, then you lose me. I am more than willing to watch any piece of entertainment, particularly within my favorite area, which of course is genre, whether you're talking superheroes, sci-fi, sci-fantasy, classic fantasy, whatever you want to. I mean, that type of stuff, always been my favorite entertainment. And if you give me a good story, I don't care what your message is. And so far, so good. I thought, again, to my great surprise, the not only has it not been woke, it's been a parody of woke, which blew me away. I mean, this guy's taking shots at everybody so far, and I love it.
You've hit on the other point. Okay, so we're bringing up the woke concept. We're almost technically we're kind of checking those boxes. But the thing is that we're also putting a fairer light on these things. Okay, so you bring up this stuff, but the thing is that you have to test everything against a sort of reality that you're building around it. I mean, there you go. In the first episode, here's some more spoilers for you. This is perfect. You've got the character who we can follow from your review and refer to her as Kathleen Kennedy. You've got the secondary. You got Madeline's secondary, who has been nominated by Homelander to take over her position. And you understand it's just from the point of view of, I just want someone there that I can control. But this person has got it in her head at the start that she's going to help and she's going to do the right things and she's going to make this stuff and she's going to go for inclusion because that's what the company wants to see. That's what people want to see. We know that we've got all these focus groups and things that are talking about it, and they really want to see this stuff. And she introduces him to her selected character, Blind Spot, a functionally blind superhero. I mean,
he was Daredevil.
He's Daredevil.
He's Daredevil.
Daredevil. He is functionally blind, but he's doing all these things. He's showing off his skills. He's jumping through an obstacle course and rolling around on mats, and he's throwing poles and stabbing these dummies and showing off his skills. And Homelander is, he looks like he's evaluating him and
very nonplussed.
And KK is talking him up and talking about how they want inclusion, and if we can get someone to take over for Deep, who might be female, might be a person of color, might be a female person of color, even better.
Fingers crossed. She was so
Homelander?
Kathleen Kennedy to me. Oh my God. Oh, it was Kathy. It was so Kathy.
But here's the thing: is that now then Homelander he asked the question. So you're blind, and he's and what if I do this? And he boxes the guy's ears in superhero terms.
Oh yes,
basically making him deaf as well,
which presumably makes him useless.
There you go. Now you're just a blind and deaf guy. I mean, that is so. Number one, it sets him up as that much more of an evil. Sets him up as that much more of a, who am I? Who's in charge of this? Who's going to make decisions?
And I am completely okay with Homelander, evil, main villain. I mean, that's the setup. I mean, there's other antagonists, of course, but at least thus far, we've certainly been set up that Homelander is the most dangerous. he's the one we got to
Superman.
worry about more than anything. He's Superman, yes.
Superman, and Superman is not. I mean, we're being put in that position now. How is he defeatable? How is what can be done against him? And he's still out there. He's still on the side of Vought, and now you've got elements within Vought. You now see we are getting hard on the inner workings. We are getting deep into the function of it, and I mean, I really do. I am there. I am cautious, but I am there with wanting to find out if Kripke, the rest of his staff, the rest of the creative talent can continue to push this forward with the quality that they have so far, with the concern for storytelling, with the concern for being able to draw narratives into their story without bloating the story into a propaganda piece.
Yes, yeah,
I want to believe it. I want to believe it. I want to believe it, but I can't.
Exactly right. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop at this point. You know, the first one was Kripke's interview. So when are they going to slam us with the agenda driven instead of story driven? And again, I will mea culpa right to Kripke. I will put out an apology video if he keeps it like this for the whole season. Unquestionably,
all you're doing is being safe because you've had your toes stepped on, you've had your ears boxed, you've had your head clubbed. We all have in fandom, in genre.
Yes.
And we just want good stuff. And so far, not regardless, except for a few cases where they have, like Thoth has said, they are making a few changes that are going to upset adaptation. But
yes,
if they go forward, making a good thing. I mean, like you could not adapt it differently. You could not put her there without giving her an important role, and that's why I brought up the whole thing with Starlight. Now, I do not know how that plays out in the comic book, but it definitely gives you different dynamics. Maybe not better, hopefully not worse.
Yes, and it's something that and Lord Thoth, of course, my most excellent and loyal wrench, because by God, I need one, and he said yes. So, and I love having him here to get a little more conversation going. So it's always good when people are commenting to help us discuss and exactly right. The only thing those of us who would say that we are, in or around or in agreement with, as far as, the Fandom Menace hashtag is concerned, is we just want good stories. I mean, it boils down to those 5 words. At the end of the day, more than anything else, that's what the Fandom Menace wants. And so far, so good. I have to say that. I will always say that when somebody puts something good on screen. But he's not off the watch list yet.
So, we're watching. He said he spoke the points, so we have to see if he's truly going to bring those points home, or if he, as you said, parody is the name of his game.
Yes, and if he keeps going the way he is, I'm gonna love this, because he is holding nothing back on just about anyone, honestly. I mean, we've got, he's pilloried Scientology in this season with the Deep, who is a character whose arc I am really interested in seeing. What, they have him, it's a little abrupt and rushed to an extent, but it kind of has to be for the purposes of the show, so I can forgive it.
It's the nature of the anthology. Go ahead.
Yeah, so him, we see him hit rock bottom. He gets bailed out of jail by, this new sort of smooth talking, like really, I don't even know quite how to describe Eagle Archer.
He describes himself as being in the Deep's position at one time. He gives
Yes.
them the little story. He gives them the little story about his darkest moment, and he sort of brings him in and introduces him to our little religious social worker.
Yes. Was her name Kathy?
I
Am I remembering
wanted
right?
to. I cannot verify that. We'd have to look that up. But the thing is that she fits so perfectly. There's nothing as yet. There's nothing as yet diabolical, but that's the perfect thing. I mean, they could
Yes.
go any number of ways with this because part of this is the idea. It's sort of, I mean, without putting too fine a point on it, it is drawing the parallels to Scientology and the effect that that particular religious uh, that particular religious belief has done for and against certain members of the entertainment community.
It's definitely, and it goes back to one of the general premises of what The Boys is to begin with, at least in terms of the superheroes themselves, is what happens when they behave like celebrities, which, in many ways, I think what we're seeing here out of The Boys is probably the closest to what real life might be like if there were indeed superpowered beings out there. In today's world, I think that this celebrity status is not wrong in terms of how it might play out. And so bringing in Scientology into the Vought superheroes is, I mean, that's great. I love it. We'll see where it goes, but it's got good potential because they could take it any number of directions. They could be treating it, I mean, and maybe it depends on if Kripke's a Scientologist on which way it's going, right? I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but that could have a big effect on exactly how these guys are playing out throughout the season. I do think Deep is getting set up for a proper redemption arc. Deserved or not,
as long as the writing maintains its quality.
Deserved or not, I think that's the route that he's going. Whether it's genuine or I think he's going to at least genuinely try to head in a good direction, contrary to where he's been, and that could present a really interesting dynamic. It might even be a good thing if they kill him at the end of the season. Honestly, especially if he goes through a redemption arc, I think it would be great if they killed him off. Maybe he dies saving Starlight or something. That'd be, that could be a nice way to bring him full circle.
Or is made a sacrificial lamb by the Seven.
Absolutely, another possibility that could work well.
Because we twist him back around to an actual redeemed hero, and then immediately after that, this feels kind of The Boys to, okay, we've brought him back, we've raised him up, and now he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. They could make a lot of effective stories out of killing him towards the end of the season. Maybe like in episode 9 or something like that might be a good time to do it. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, from listening to some of our friends who were familiar with the comic material, and I believe Lord Thoth seems to be familiar with the underlying source material based on some of his comments. We're hearing that they've already kind of tread a bit far from the base material storyline. So, maybe we do, maybe we don't look to the base material to try to determine where Deep's going. If they've already started to stray a fair bit, it may be worthless to even look at it to try to figure out what he's up to. But there's a lot of
history at this point.
Yes. And, there's a lot of cool stories that they could create by killing Deep off at the end of the season, which, we'll see where it goes, but I kind of hope they do. It could make good story.
Yes. The only difference is that, I mean, you bring that up, that it might not, if we've strayed so far from the original material, then the idea could be I mean, you don't want this to happen either, is to waste the adaptation, waste the original material in a reversioning in the adaptation, because then you'll just make people who thought it was done better in the original, it will sour them.
And you don't want to go too far from it. I'm with you on that. There is, I would guess, with this particular IP, I don't think I'm going out on a limb to say that the show itself probably has earned significantly more fans than the original source material did. Simply, the reason I say that is that I didn't know what the source material was, or even that it existed prior to the announcement of the show. And, admittedly, I haven't bought a floppy comic for 20 years. You did a ton when I was a teenager growing up. But once I hit my 20s, really, I got out of that. Captain Trek, hail.
Hail, Captain Trek. Hail, Latino Slant.
Good to see you. Paulie, you've got the link. If you want to pop in, you are certainly welcome to join us if you'd like.
Absolutely.
But, so we're, so knowing that, I don't think that, and keep in mind, the original creators are helping write the series, right? I mean, Derek's in there. He's doing the work on, with Kripke on plotting the story for where they're going. So I wonder if, given the small audience of the source material, that maybe they're not terribly worried about following it super closely, because there's going to be more show fans than there are comic fans on this one.
Well,
I know. What do you think?
We always hope when original creators are involved, what you really want is that idea, what we always wanted from George Lucas. We want the idea man to present ideas, to present possibilities for how you want to tell the story. And if they do, not only are they presenting ideas, but if they do want to make a change, they run them by the original creator. They take their opinions on the material and where they should go if they make those decisions. Because if you have the original creators involved, then it should reflect the genre should show the respect to the original creation. And if you have an original creator, you've got to think that if they are being listened to, the original material is being respected.
Agreed. Or at least you'd certainly hope so. I mean, most people who create an IP consider it very near and dear to their hearts and want to at least honor the spirit of it in an adaptation.
Rather than sell your children to white slavers. But
yes.
That's getting away from the point.
Oh, well, we might get into that point a little bit later, but you never know. We got a couple more topics we'll probably get into. So, but Deep could be a lot of fun. And
I hope so.
He could be a lot of fun. I think that episode 2 was pretty slow otherwise. And yes, I will be on your stream tonight, Paulie. Latino Slant doing a midnight stream, getting going at midnight Central. I'm going to be on that later. We're going to be talking, among other things, the X-Files, because we are arriving at an anniversary date, 27 years, I think, since it originally aired. Love that. Boo, 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 boo. Loved that show growing up, man. It was one of my favorite shows when I was a younger man. But
they couldn't kill it until they started changing it significantly.
I didn't mind the 2 rebooted seasons that they did with Mulder and Scully. They still felt like X-Files to me, even if it was, the geriatric files. It still felt X-Files. The heart was still there.
Well, I was falling out of it when they started to change things for the 9th and 10th season, and I mean that had a lot to do with David Duchovny wanted to go out and spread his wings and do whatever else he wanted to do. And I don't know how much that might have changed Chris Carter's idea for where he wanted to go with the series. Not
Well,
to mention,
he did get to bring the T-1000 in, which was cool.
yeah. Well, it did allow him to do more than just stare meaningfully into a camera looking all fierce and destructive. But it brought him in. It brought in some other concepts. I don't know how many people feel about his partner in the 9th and 10th season, who I didn't watch enough of it to be able to, but I don't remember if she had something special about her.
You know, at the time when those aired live, that was kind of when I checked out of the series, and then I came back in for kind of when Mulder rolled back. I came back in.
Yeah, when Mulder came back, we hey, look, it's Mulder. Maybe I should sit and watch it.
Yeah. I tuned back in when Mulder came back. It wasn't the same without, it wasn't the X-Files without Mulder. I mean, period. So, but back to the original topic, though. What did you think about the behind-the-scenes marketing blitz with the girls get it done in episode 2, which was probably the coolest scene in the entire episode, other than Patton Oswalt talking through deep skills, I suppose.
Just that is exactly the point of this, making them fit into the celebrity mold, showing how they are utilized by the corporate interest, the creator of the celebrity in the first place, and all that information going on about how they're going to do this, and how they're going to build up these characters, and how they're going to change things, especially with the upsets and the things going on behind the scenes. And this is just pointing, it's shining a light on that. Maybe not everybody knows this is how the celebrity life is, or at least maybe they think it's a fantasy, and they're still kind of lost in the shuffle of believing it's roses and Lamborghinis and mansions and everything's fine. But the adult pretenders, they're pretending 24/7 in front of the camera, and that's the role that we fit these heroes in. Yes, they are being heroes, but they're also doing these production roles, and they're also doing these junkets, and they're also doing all these other things, not to mention that they're still human beings, and they're thinking about it. I mean, from the point of view, we got the sub-thread with Starlight doing what she and her boyfriend always wanted to do, which was shining the light on this, what is essentially the pharmaceutical company that is putting all these heroes out there,
and expertly told to us by Giancarlo Esposito. I like him in this series, in his role there is the CEO of Vought.
He's either the CEO or he is sitting top of the council that leads the company. So on some level, chief executive probably, but he has also been able to keep his distance. And now with these problems being brought up, now he is having to direct things. Well, he's having to direct things.
Yes.
And more importantly, I mean, Esposito, the man, the guy. I mean, is there any bad dialogue that he cannot shine up into just gold? I mean, every role I've seen this guy play, even from the best to the worst of the stuff that you get in The Mandalorian, I don't know how you care for it, but seeing him play the Moff in that and just chew that scene up, and you believe him, even if it's not the best dialogue, and you remember him. I mean, I go right back to Breaking Bad, and remembering him from that. He was just excellent in that. There's a little bit of that in this character here, so it's not so much a stretch for him, but he's just such an excellent actor, rolling that information out there, giving you the attitude, putting your mind in a place where you see the guy and you believe this is the CEO of the company. This is a man who doesn't take shit from his employees, not even the guy who could fire lasers into his brain.
Seeing that battle of wills between Edgar and Homelander was great. One thing that I love about Esposito is anytime that guy is on the camera, he commands your respect and your attention. He brings a gravitas to every scene that he's in that, despite this show having a lot of good actors in it, nobody matches him. There's nobody on the show, with the maybe exception of Carl Urban.
He raises the bar.
Yes.
He raises the bar. That's what a good actor does. Good actor, I'm using my regular terms. When I use good people, that can often mean excellent. He is such a solid presence. He is such a masterful. You look at his eyes, you look at his stance, the way he's holding himself. He can be in a full just a full headshot. And the thing is that you see his body language from how he's holding his neck, how he's configuring his face, how he's addressing the actor that he is acting to. You don't necessarily feel the acting because you believe it. And give this guy work. Give this guy scenes. You want him working for you. Hire the man.
I want him in everything. I really do. This guy's amazing. And he is woefully underused. Myself, I never got into Breaking Bad, so I wasn't familiar with him from that. The first thing I remember seeing him in was The Mandalorian as Moff Gideon. And this dude, he is a force on screen. I mean, I'm trying to think, I'm trying to think of who else has that kind of presence, and like names like
Charles Dance?
De Niro, Dance. Yeah, those types of people come to mind.
Ian McKellen?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Classical actors.
Yes.
I mean, I would include him in the camp of classical actors, and one of the most recent to grace our screens and to really get in our hearts as an excellent portrayal actor.
Absolutely. I can't say it enough. I want to see him in everything. The dude is just good. End of story. I love him. I really hope he's got a bigger role. The other one that I'm very curious, I suspect she's going to be very important, particularly as the season rolls to a close, and probably more so in season 3, is Congresswoman Newman, who I have decided I will call Tulsi Gabbard from now on.
I didn't see that until you brought it up. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy saw that, and I was like, yeah.
There is no way that's not intentional. Not a chance.
It's a bit part, but that is contextual. That is and I appreciate that. You brought that up, and I appreciate that context. That fits so much. This is another case of wrapping, of taking a checkbox, not caring about the narrative, caring about the story, and just putting this. This is an excellent little bit part that gives us an opportunity to, how do they put it? They make it relevant. They make it relevant to today or something like that. And like I mentioned with the other bit before about making Stormfront from Portland, it might be very contextual for today. But the fact that they're telling these stories today, we don't know how it will age. in context, it would age great because it's being told so well. But the thing is that also gives you such it is actually placing those story bits
Yes.
in well told manner. It is
Yeah.
it is making you it is doing them in such a way that you believe more.
Yes. And they've put Tulsi in just a couple of scenes now, and I get this impression. I really think she's going to have some significant importance, because I don't think you drip that in so randomly and haphazardly. I think putting her in there, even if she's not going to be terribly important in season 2, I really do expect to see her take some kind of active role next season, in season 3.
Yes.
Bringing her in the way she is and having her provide the message that she is, across the platforms. We'll get to see her, I think it was in episode 2 and episode 3, or maybe it was 1 and 3. But having her drip those things in, you can tell she's going to get behind some kind of government push related to what the hell to do about Compound V. I mean, you know it.
Yes. Well, part of that is that, okay, you've started telling the story. The closure on the story is showing her and showing her opinions on this, showing her acting on it. That's the lamppost, the classical storytelling. You're going to hang that lamp out there, and you're going to say, this is like showing the gun in Act 1. It's going to be used by Act 3 or whatever, something like that.
Yes.
You put her in there. Now, instead of just making her a checkbox, she becomes critical. She becomes an actioneer in a later story to actually give us, she was there for a reason. She was not just added as bullshit. She was not just added as some kind of crap that we just wanted to do this to for a flight of fancy, for a fan story.
Yes.
It's meaningful in the long run, and that would be wonderful, because it does, like I said, doesn't just give contemporary context.
Yeah, I mean,
it actually lends the story.
Yeah, she is a chess piece in this game being put into place. The only thing we don't know right now is she a pawn? Is she the queen? Is she right? What is she, right? What chess piece is she to deal with her
And
importance?
Let's be fair. She could be nothing. She could be a checkbox. We haven't seen it yet.
If they do that, that's some really shit story writing. And I haven't seen that yet.
But we say this now. We say this now because this is where we had been clubbed over the head once too many times.
It's fair.
Because, hey, people out there who make content for us, and we really appreciate sometimes these terrible, these thoughtful things. You can make us think once in a while, and we like it.
Oh, hell yes.
Don't waste don't waste it. Don't waste it. You're doing so well right now.
Exactly. God, as we've already said, both of us a dozen times, I am scared to death that this is going to go into a woke fest, but I got to give them credit. The first 3 episodes are really good. It feels like they're putting the pieces in place to tell a great story. Everything so far is quite compelling. Now, I do have to throw this out there, to you, Draco, and to everybody in the chat, but this is really, really important to me. And so I have to say it. Justice for Lucy.
Justice for Lucy! She was just helping the deep out. She was a hero in her own right. Lucy.
Rest in peace, Lucy. That scene was great.
I mean, that was run. I mean, yes, this is an action piece. Yes, this is a spoiler, but I mean, that's perfect. The guys, they're on the boat. They've got our insider. One of these days, I'm going to get the young girl who they've got with them, who has been treated with the compound V, we find out that her brother has been snuck in to be a terrorist in the United States. And what's more is that once they finally meet, the brother and the sister are at ideological odds with one another.
And they're trying to bridge the gap.
Yes.
They do make an effort to bridge the gap between the two of them.
But the thing is that not only do you have that, but in the course of the story, not only do we finally bring a point on Stormfront's character by what she does, not only do we bring a point on our, oh, this is killing me. I bet Lord Thoth remembers the name of the girl, or at least the any myriad names that have been given
Kimiko.
to her. Kimiko.
Yeah.
Because Kimiko is going to be just as important, especially because of the events in episode 3. Because it might have been going slow in episode 2, but once you have the sister meets the brother, the sister is trying to protect the brother is trying to convince the sister that she's wrong, the brother wants to protect the sister.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, not only does the brother get an opportunity to do what he wanted, but he still stands apart as what he is planning to do forward, but then he is rounded up. And I think
Yes.
Kimiko has a mission that is more clear-cut than ever before now.
Oh, that's definitely going to drive some motivation for her. And, perfect segue into discussing where this, our big reveal in episode 3, right? So, we've had Stormfront kind of up until this point. If you didn't know about her background in the source material, I knew about it from listening to some of the other Fandom Menace channels like Nerdrotic and, a few of the others. They had talked about the fact that, it was a gender flipped, actual bad guy from Germany. So it wasn't a shock to me, but I still loved the reveal and how they did it in episode 3. And when she's going after Kimiko's brother, and it sure was Lord Thoth. Oh gosh, I didn't even notice that till you said that. You're right, it is. But so Stormfront.
That's where I've seen her before. Yeah. Thank you, Lord Thoth.
Yeah, so Stormfront is going after.
I don't know why I forgot about Suicide Squad. I really, really don't. Please.
Oh, come on! It was the greatest movie ever made. Before we talk about the climax of episode 3, that actually brings me back to another thought that happened towards the beginning of episode 3.
Uh-oh.
And that was, so you remember the 7, they're all sitting in the boardroom there on 99, and they're getting pitched a storyboard for a movie. That looked to me like a giant middle finger from Kripke to DC. I mean, Dawn of the 7, or no, Rise of the 7 was the name of the movie.
Even the palette, the design of that 7 on the board in front of the clouds, and you're going like, oh, this is a dig. This is a dig right here.
Yeah.
Dig.
Oh, God. I mean, you couldn't miss the fact that was, BVS, right? And Justice League. I mean, it was unmistakable. And yeah, that was a little bit of a slap at DC and Snyder for sure.
Well played, sir. Well played.
I gotta give Kripke credit for that. Whoever, I mean, I'm guessing it was Kripke, but whoever threw that shot across the bow, it was a good one. I'm sorry, Snyder Cut fans. Well, maybe not Snyder Cut fans, but maybe Whedon Justice League fans.
That's probably more appropriate anyway. Say what you will about Snyder and his vision for the DC universe, but it was definitely screwed up beyond his control. It was not his fault that it went south. It was not his fault that it went south when the corporate interests started making decisions there. But isn't that what we're
Wait a
shining
minute.
the light on here?
Corporate interests making this. Oh. Yes, and I mean, these guys, they hold nothing back when they're. I mean, they go after Disney, they go after DC, they go after. I mean, they keep. I don't know why the hell they keep plugging Fresca so much with the Scientologists, but okay.
Waiting to find out what that means. I mean, that's like that's a heavy flag. I don't know what it means yet. Maybe someone else does.
I don't think that's just product placement. There's something more there. It was.
How much did Coke put into the production of this particular show?
wait, Coke or Coke?
Have a Coke and a smile. That Coke.
Oh, that Coke. Okay.
Yes.
I don't know.
Coke. It might have been the other Coke. I don't know. No, specifically
a little
Coke.
Something under your nose there.
I'm talking about Coke specifically because at least my recollection is Fresca is an imprint of Coca-Cola Company.
Yeah, I'd have to look. I don't know if Fresca is one of theirs. I didn't think that it was, but hell, I could be wrong. But yeah, this Fresca plugs are. It feels like there's something more there. It doesn't feel like just a product plug, but I guess we'll see.
Well, here's a product plug for you. Fresca is a grapefruit flavored citrus soft drink created by the Coca-Cola Company.
Well, all right.
Borrowing from the word fresca from Spanish. That is definitely still an imprint of the Coca-Cola Company.
John asks an interesting question in the chat. Is it a Jim Jones reference? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that was always the Kool-Aid as opposed to the Fresca, but maybe they're using an analog. I don't know. Could be. So, it could be. Know.
It's a reach around, but that would be curious. It's certainly a possibility if you want to do that. I don't know why. Make up something.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely.
I don't know if Coke would care. I think Coke might actually care if they become the new Kool-Aid. If one of their imprints becomes the new Kool-Aid. But hey, it's a thought.
I mean, they do portray those guys as a hell of a cult, so I guess you never know. Yeah. But yeah, the final battle in episode 3, though, we'll get back to that now, and with Stormfront going after Kimiko's brother, I don't think we ever get his name. But he's
simply the terrorist. That's at least referring to her as the female, as Lord Thoth brought up. I refer to him as the terrorist. But
yes, yeah, and so he's as long as he can use his hands, he's got some pretty intense telekinesis, and
he
really
was trapped
strong
by the use of his hands, and they use that against him. That's well thought out. He has to use his hands. But then Stormfront gets a little Neanderthal on it.
Yeah, she did. Which I didn't realize Stormfront had super strength as well. Of course,
part of what we don't know. We don't know you don't know how the Pantheon plays out. What are their absolute powers? Who is bulletproof? Who has the ability to recover from wounds and things like that? This is still all open unless you've got it from original material.
Apparently, though, Starlight is mostly bulletproof.
That's been said, so
they said that
new
to
information.
Her. That was new. I had no idea that was in her power set from season 1. So we get the snap of the wrist, so he can't use his powers anymore, and then Homegirl just brutally murders him, and
in front of the sister.
And then, of course, drops the racial slur right after she's busted up a low-rent tenement filled with other racial minorities. So this woman is bad. And even knowing it was coming, it was still impressive and cool to watch because they did a good job with it.
More than bad, she's definitely siding with the people from the bad people from Germany in the past. So.
Yes, she is an absolute ist, and there's no doubt about it.
Even more, it's even to the story point that this is brought up, and then she is lauded as the hero. And now you set up, not only did we have Homelander be our tantamount hero supervillain from the first season, but now
He
Stormfront
has a
is
foil.
set against him. And
Yes.
she is absolutely, you see from the end there that she is absolutely fine with, yep, you come at me, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, there was definitely some come at me, bro. No doubt about it.
Ooh. I mean, we're lauding this. We, ladies and gentlemen, who's ever in the chat, who's ever listening, we have not been paid by these people. We're just so appreciative of getting a interesting, well told, with a little gore story that keeps us interested, doesn't preach at us, and just makes us. We're talking about it like geeks because this is what geeks do. What if they did this? What if they did that? Oh, I don't think they could do that. And it's like, this is all we've been wanting.
Yes, exactly.
For ages. We are practically in nerdgasm because all we want is this stuff that we can appreciate and we can get into and that we can get behind, even if it's got its flaws.
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but I mean, so far so good. I mean, holy shit, we're theorizing. We're trying to guess what's going to happen.
Quality of it. This is the quality of it, that we can actually do this. Even while we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, we're still going, I hope it's, we're still putting in the, what are our theories? What are the possibilities? What would we want to happen? What wouldn't we want to happen? I mean, this is peak excellent. This is where we want to live.
We're talking story. I mean, what could they do with the story? What would be good? What would be bad? What do we hope to see? This is great. One of the things that I've got to draw a comparison to, because it was the other big, very recent superhero show that we saw go to a streaming service, and that's the Umbrella Academy season 2. So these two shows are cool comparisons because they're both shows about superheroes. One obviously more family friendly than the other. Not going to let my kids watch The Boys. It's there's not any issues with nudity, but the violence is pretty gratuitous. I mean, a little bit more than I'm comfortable with their age right now. But it's two shows about superheroes. One is kind of a riff on the X-Men, and one is kind of a riff on the Justice League, which makes for fun comparisons in many ways. And what I am absolutely loving about what we're seeing from The Boys as compared to what we saw from the Umbrella Academy is the use of the powers. One of the things I said in my review of the Umbrella Academy that I wished they had done more of and that they needed to do more of was to really let us see these people use their superpowers. Because one of the cool things about watching superheroes is watching them use the superpowers. And The Boys does not disappoint on that. It, from the very first episode, in some way, shape, or form, we get treated to displays of the power. And whether you're talking about learning what Stormfront can do and seeing it in action, whether it's evolutions of what we get out of Starlight, A-Train starting to physically break down with he's got, continued heart problems based on his continued use of compound V. And yes, yeah, absolutely, Lord Thoth. That's right where my head was. So you see A-Train starting to have heart problems because of using compound V. I mean, he's basically shown as almost like an addict, right, to the substance. And you get different opportunities to view what all these superheroes can do. There's a really neat scene with, I forget with Gecko, who was an old acquaintance of Starlight from when she was a kid when they were at Capes for Jesus, which is, I mean, that's a whole interesting idea in itself. But Gecko, in order to make money, because he's not a powerful enough soup to get one of the Vought gigs, he lets people hack his limbs off because they grow back. So people pay him. He lets them, he lets them hack his limbs off. Makes for some good blackmail for Starlight to get the compound V, but we get to experience what these people can do, which is so cool. It was the big thing to me that was missing from Umbrella Academy, and we're just getting it all over the place here in The Boys, which is great. I mean, I'm just a big fan of getting to see those powers in action. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of what Stormfront can do. To Lord Thoth's point, electrokinesis, flight, invulnerability, superhuman strength. We've gotten to see glimpses of 2 of those 4 powers so far. And in the preview for, next episodes that we got to see, for what's coming down the pike in the season, or maybe it was from the big trailer. I remember watching it, though. We do get to see, her flight, and we get to see examples of the invulnerability. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, not being familiar with the source material, I would sure as hell love to see a knockdown drag out between Stormfront and Homelander. That'd be one hell of a fight. So I don't know, Draco, what do you think about the way that we get to see everybody's powers throughout this season?
What do I think? I just appreciated being able their portrayals, the effects and things, and they don't have to always show certain things, and they keep it pretty tight, so you don't think, well, if they're doing this, or at least the way that I've seen it, is that we're probably doing a little bit of less is more. I mean, generally you don't see a whole lot of fantastic feats. You see like the before, and then you see the aftermath. Mm-hmm. And they do other things like, I mean, some of the particularly grisly stuff is just basic, the use of superpowers against human beings. The very first opener in the first season, seeing A-Train turn his girlfriend into a cloud of red mist. Yeah. That, I mean, just the idea that, number one, that you have superpowers at all. Now you got super strength. It's pretty basic. You have any number of ways that they show that, and it makes perfect sense. You've got the laser eyes. You've got the lightning bolts from the hands. You've got a bunch of basic effects. I mean, just the terrorist, the brother doing his tricks with doing the telekinesis from his hands. That I mean, taking a set and tearing it down in an appropriate way. And
yes,
his sister behaving like the Beast, and or the Wolverine, I suppose, is another applicable term. That she just tears people apart, and she's got the strength to do it. I mean, all of it is just. I'm not blown out by the stuff they're doing. I'm not like expecting too much, and maybe it's for me. It's kind of like if I don't expect too much, then maybe that's also me treating it safe. But I'm also saying I'd rather you show me what you want to show me, and as long as you don't take the wrong road, then I'll believe you. I'm sort of that way with most fantasy and genre. Sure. If you start to get too extravagant with it, then I might start asking questions like, well, wait a second, you did this in one, and then I'll start thinking about it, and then I'll do a Star Trek card on your based on the original TNG, and it's like, see, this is why this stuff doesn't happen, because we already set up this, and this in the originals, and that does not carry from what you just showed me in that show. and tear that
Yes.
shit right down. Meanwhile, in this is I really like the I like the effects. I like the setups. I like the practicals, and it feels good. Especially, I mean, how much money is Amazon throwing at the show compared to other endeavors?
I mean, I got to assume a fair bit. It doesn't look cheap.
No, it looks good. All that stuff that they would have to do from CGI. I mean, isn't that the idea too? You keep it simple, because if you have to do the big exploding building, and you got to have flame simulation, and you got to have dust and debris, and you got to have particle interaction and all this other stuff, it immediately shows, especially viewers who are sensitive to that sense, well, that doesn't look real. I mean, I even love the fact that how many times that I do know that a thing is done practically, and you still have people that go, oh, well, that ain't real. Because they're always looking for it. And it isn't that hard, especially when from my point of view, going through the 90s and the early idea when they would try to show you this pixelated, textured, shaded thing that didn't fit in the scene with the other characters, and you're expected to suspend disbelief for this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of practical effects in general, and they're certainly using some of that here with a healthy dose of CGI as well. But at least watching now, I grant I have not put this on my really big screen, but on the platforms that I'm watching it on, which are certainly bigger than a cell phone or a tablet, the effects look pretty seamless and smooth and good. And, I'm not getting any of those sort of visceral, WTF kind of reactions to them, which is a testament to the quality of how it's put together in my mind. I mean, nothing's going to be perfect, but it looks good overall.
Fully believe it. I mean, it's another thing that we get to sing the praises of this creation. It's being well done, it's being well handled. I'm certain there'll be some nitpickers there who will really like try to strike it for this issue or that issue, but it's just another thing to give you the satisfaction that that this entertainment, which is after all a waste of time, it's only meant to entertain you, but you feel that you didn't waste your time because you were definitely entertained by it. You are not TLJ'd.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we were not TLJ'd so far, at least.
And that's why we'll keep couching it in that term. I'm going to have to put that on a soundboard.
Yeah, yes. Every single review of an episode that I do through the end of the season, in any live stream where we talk about it, until we hit the last episode and it hasn't happened, I'm going to keep saying so far. Lord Thoth makes a good money when you keep it contained, sort of where and when you're filming. Helps with the budget big time. You don't end up with a 60-day night shoot for the longest episode of television you can't see ever. And, and are you not? I am entertained. I am entertained so far.
You are entertained? Very well.
Yes. They've seen what makes us cheer now, Draco.
Indeed. I think we've sung these phrases for plenty of time.
Absolutely, man. So
I guess in terms that might be used in a very short bit. So far, maybe it deserves.
I mean, I would give the first 3 episodes a solid 8.5. That's where I'd be at. I mean, a solid 8.5. I'm very entertained. I'm really looking forward to what's coming next. And it's a good production. I mean, I might even be inching towards a 9. It's good.
That's fair. I would definitely be toward the positive end myself.
Yeah.
I don't honestly have I wouldn't call it necessarily a credit, but because it's always been here's a little bit inside the mind of Draco here, that from my own point of view, I have probably always been willing to media enters my mind, and I don't necessarily give it 100%. Give it 100% fact as it's filling into my head, because I'm so willing to, if something that I watch isn't necessarily as good, and I still let it in, and I let the idea of it pass inside, that I'm fully willing to, in my head, write a better script than the show. That I'm willing to say that, that wasn't that great. I mean, this was almost directly, or it's referential for me to refer to as how I saw, at the age that I saw it, how I saw the prequels.
Sure.
Which I was dissatisfied with on the whole, but I was not a prequel. I did not make excuses for the prequels. I basically said, number one, it feels like Star Wars. Number two, I can understand a lot of reasons why George did and said the things that he did and why he did it. And I also have unfortunately come to know even more about, this is the reason why he made some of those decisions. But in my mind, I have in my head a head canon that is a better version, that Hayden Christensen really pulled off the acting, and the lines were not some cringy thing going on. So I will do that in my head. But when I watch this show, if I go back critically and say, so how did that make it into your head? And I'm thinking, it kind of got there as it is. The amount of things that you could improve about it, I don't care that much about. I think they made an excellent product. I think they made an excellent show. I think that I was interested in it. The slow parts weren't so slow that I didn't want to watch it.
Agreed.
The assembly of it fit everything that I expect, especially the baseline set up by the first series. And like I said, that's one thing that it always comes back to, that people like Lord Thoth could give us a more critical eye, because you see the original and you compare the two and you say, well, this did this better than this.
Yeah, I'm very tempted to go back, and I believe you showed us earlier that you got the
Umbrella Academy.
Oh, that was Umbrella Academy that you'd gotten. Okay, yeah. I'd like to go back and get, if there is like a graphic novel version where it compiles everything. I would love.
There are some collected versions of those. You can find them if you can't support your local comic store, if you can't find someone selling them online. They are definitely going on Amazon. Some of the issues are hard to find. But sure. I was looking into that myself.
Yeah, because it's, I really want to go back and check out if there are trades. I would love to get them, because that would be really cool.
And you want to see Gary's cameo.
Well, of course you got to see Gary's cameo. I mean, we're all friends of Nerdrotic here, right?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and Lord Thoth, that's exactly what I would expect. And good for the people who own them that are trying to sell them right now and getting their dimes for it. For real, I would fully expect the originals to be going for a lot more than they used to, because anytime you get an original like that produced into a TV show, again, to Thoth's point about getting to see a show he never thought he'd see. Oh my God, am I just like saying your name horribly wrong, Lord Thoth? So if I am, I'm so sorry.
Oh dear.
Oh God, now I feel like I must be because he said who, and then he laughed. You know?
I don't know. I think I'm saying the name similar to yours, Lord Thoth.
Oh gosh,
I
yeah,
have to
but
be deliberate if I want to say it like they think Egyptians speak.
oh, here we go. Look at this. He has dropped a link. Oh, who's Gary? I mean, I'm guessing everybody watching this stream probably is familiar with Gary Beekler from Nerdrotic, but he, of course, is a friend of many of us. I know that Thoth is certainly well aware who he is because we were on a member stream with him earlier. But in case anybody else on the stream is not, he's another channel here on YouTube whom we are all many of us are big fans of as well. And if you don't subscribe to him, I strongly recommend that you do because he's got a great channel. Lots of fun stuff.
The Nerdrotic.
Oh, and he's a big help to smaller channels like this. Is more than willing to do shout outs. I'm actually working with him on maybe arranging a little special guest appearance in a few weeks, maybe. So just I'll keep my fingers crossed. So, we'll see how that shakes out, but keep tuned. That'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. So the boys omnibuses are on sale right now. What I should do with that is I do have a local comic shop, and I should roll over to the local shop and see if they've got it before grabbing it off Amazon.
Absolutely.
One way or the other right now, those little local shops of any type, right? I mean, comics, restaurants, whatever it is, if you can patronize them, anybody, I would strongly recommend that you do, because those people are your neighbors and they are hurting more than anyone else over what's happened throughout the world and in the US over the past 7 months. And, if you can support a local shop like that, please do. Yeah, that's it. And this is a good suggestion from Lord Thoth. Wait until we finish season 2 before reading through it. That's good advice. I would tend to agree with him. Because wrap up this season, then read the source material and have fun with it, right? And what's cool about this show, Draco, is I mean, as both you and I have mentioned, we didn't really know about this IP before they created the show, and it's generated interest in me to go look at the source material. And I hope that's true for a wide range of folks, because it's as much as I, hate to see what's happening to a lot of the comic industry right now. If we, if we can support, smaller companies like that, it'll help keep it alive because the big boys are going to crash.
Try to help our neighbors out as well.
Yes.
As being able to enjoy the genre that we have been interested in for so long.
Absolutely. And comics, even if you're not a big comic collector, comics are the heart of a lot of these genre stories that a lot of us love. It's the comics and the books where a lot of it came from. And seeing it on screen is pretty cool.
Yes.
Thoth, I am glad to see that at least the shop could sell hockey paraphernalia to survive. Because the last thing you want to see is a shop like that closed down. For real. It's people, their whole lives are in those kind of shops, and you don't get into that business to become a millionaire. You get into it because you love it. And
absolutely.
So it's if you're so inclined, support those people because they deserve it, at least by trying to keep their doors open and keeping us entertained. So all right, man, I had a couple other things sort of on the docket beyond just the boys. We actually talked about that a lot longer than I thought we would.
We like the boys.
Holy shit.
3 episodes. Don't be so unhappy that you don't get to see the whole thing in one go, you crazy people.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Let's talk about it. Yeah. So We just spent the last hour and 20 minutes talking about 3 episodes of The Boys that lasted only about an hour and 20 minutes longer than what we just talked about it. So these are like 50-minute episodes. We just talked about it for almost 90 minutes, and there's only 150 minutes worth of content in this season, and we just talked about it almost as long as we have of shows, which is, it should show you how much we enjoyed it.
Long, man, good.
Yeah. But the reviews on Amazon are, I find them really, really funny. And we've talked about this a little bit before, but Draco, why don't you sort of sum up for people? Almost 50% of the reviews are 1-star negatives, but, and there's always a but. Why are they 1 stars, Draco?
Because it didn't drop the whole season at once. Because they had to have the whole thing now. They had to be able to get all of it in one. They had and watch it and say, "Wow, that's interesting. What's the next thing?" Oh
Yeah.
my word! You no interest in what's in that delayed satisfaction, which is so important. This whole binge model. This has been the big thing. How Amazon followed the Netflix model, the idea that you could make a whole season and drop it right now. And it's a few hardliners. You've got people like HBO who
Never did it.
they've got to make some more better content because they're falling by the wayside.
Yeah.
But the whole thing that being able to watch a show and then you're like, you reach the end of it, you hit a cliffhanger or something like that, and it's like, oh, I can't wait for the next episode. But
and then you talk about it.
And you talk about it
week.
all week long. You talk about it. You go to you talk about it over coffee or over lunch with your coworkers. You talk about it with your friends at school. You talk about it, and they're so upset. So I'm gonna give this a 1 star. I'd give it a 0 if I could, because I couldn't watch the whole thing. Yeah. Why? Nah. Give me nah.
I want an Oompa Loompa now, Daddy. Yeah, exactly. And that's just, they're just going to have to get over it. I love that they're releasing weekly. It's going to make the show more popular. Do you believe for a minute that any of those idiots who gave it a 1-star review are not going to be waiting glued to their streaming device next week to watch episode 4?
Just so they can shit on it again? Yeah. No.
They're going to be there.
I love this. I hate it. It's not done yet. Give me more. I can't get more. 1 star, 1 star, 1 star.
Exactly. And
Calm yourself, children.
And they are going to be watching it every week, just like we are. And by the time the season finishes, they're going to be creating the buzz for the show that's going to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's going to try to make that leap into event television. That's what they want. It was a smart decision by Amazon. I do like that they dropped the first 3 episodes, because I kind of saw a singular story to an extent among those 3. And so you give that little bit of shot up front, but then you go weekly from here on out, and your buzz builds and the excitement builds. And idiots like us with cameras and computers will talk about it. And we're giving them free advertising because we love this. It's good. We're thinking about it. We're talking about it. It's going to make it bigger, and it'll make it a bigger success for Amazon.
More people know about it. We're trying to spread that. That's the free advertising. Can we not get a few more people, a few more eyes in front of this show? And then it comes right down to the thing. Will Amazon see the interest, see the effort, or are they going to Treated as of the Twitterati, treated as of the voted up, voted down.
And
We hope that they look at this. We hope that they look at it, and they look at it and they say, well, it's creating a lot of buzz, and there's negative buzz. But as opposed to looking at all the buzz, and it's just good if people are talking about it, what about the people who are being driven to it? I mean, if they've got any ability in their streaming service to find out just how much interest that they are generating and just how much the rewatches, the new buzz, how many downloads, how many streams are pulled on that thing in the first few hours of the next new episode.
I guarantee they've got those analytics and they are prepared to analyze and react to them in whatever way is necessary. I mean, the die is cast in stone for how
the right
this
message from them too. Take the right message that it is good that we're doing this. It is good that we're delaying it. It is good that we're drawing it out. It is good that we are not dropping the whole thing there. Not to mention that we're dropping it at a particular time, that it isn't going up against some other stupid bit of media that a lot of people hate and then walk away from, and then yours receives the backlash from it.
They're only significant. I don't even know if significance is the right word. They're only true even in the same ballpark genre show coming on right now, that'll be coming on soon, that'll be any significant. I mean, I even hesitate to call it competition, but STD releasing here in a couple 3 weeks, right? And good old Star Trek Discovery, and they're dropping season 1 in a weekly fashion onto CBS broadcast, and about a month from now, season 3
got hit shots.
Yeah, see, yeah.
Let's just giggle about it because, well, we've been waiting for this particular one that we finally get away from the boys, but this is particularly choice information, isn't it? Finding out that CBS has finally come around to putting the entirety of the first season of Star Trek Discovery on network
broadcast
access
TV, where they have ratings. Public
and
ratings.
We have many ideas about how this could be because, well, they're filling slots since their production schedule's been run down from Zikuf.
Yes.
They have maybe they have an interest in making sure that they've given every possible opportunity for this flagship show to show its ability to draw new interest and that it succeed, and they didn't do anything to limit its possibility of success, at least not anything that they could do and not anything that it did to itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I am very much looking forward to seeing these ratings. I think it's fair to say that a wide audience of people have not seen Star Trek Discovery. And I would not be shocked if there's a significant portion of the normie population that doesn't even know this fucking show exists. I mean, that would not shock me. It's just not been on their radar.
It's Star Trek, or at least it's been branded that way, and Star Trek has had its own kind of stigma to it because funny enough, it was always something different than what it has been since, well, at least since 2009. Because regardless of how I feel for the 2009 show, it definitely had flaws beyond some of the issues and the liberties that it took with its material. But ever since then, we've been receiving this material from CBS and from Viacom that has been, well, it hasn't been Trek. And I don't think everybody who they wanted to know that, well, this is good. This is something you want. They've been trying to sell this. They've been trying to sell many people it. They made it their flagship product on the streaming service, CBS All Access. But
and
I
and
don't
CBS
know
All
if they
Access
understood what they were doing.
is not doing. CBS All Access is not doing well. Based on what I understand of how they report subscribers, they still call me a subscriber. I haven't paid them.
How long have you been? How long have you not been?
Let's see. I think I finally got around to remembering to stop paying them in March. To be honest, I hate to admit it, but
well, you had time. You had
That's true.
time. You got around. You got that great big round thing. It's got TUIT on it. You got your round to it.
Yes.
So
yeah.
you
Interestingly,
said, I got to take care of some business. And look, I don't need this anymore. This piece of shit network.
Yeah, the coof made me remember to finally cancel my streaming subscription.
Thank goodness, save that money.
Most people are signing up for them, and
I'm looking for new. I'm looking for new stuff. What is this? Oh, this does not look good. We'll cancel that right now.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I will give CBS credit for is they did keep to a weekly release cadence, and they stayed with the appointment television mindset. And I despite the fact that the shows sucked, at least they were smart about how they released them. I'll give them that all day long. No question about it. But I don't know what they were thinking, even attempting to develop the damn platform to begin with. They should have signed some sort of exclusive channel deal with Amazon where they get a cut of the revenue for the channel signups and just drop their shit on there. Then they don't have to develop anything. You save a crap load of money and you still get to put your exclusive shit in there.
Well, you did say the word when you referred to it, the platform that is Star Trek IP. It is a platform and not a universe, a genre, storytelling medium. It's a platform, and this is the thing that's come into light recently. A few weeks ago, that we know this has always been to Kurtzman, regardless of what he sold this product to CBS for. For him, it has been a platform.
Yes, it has.
Day one. So you were never really interested in it. So, well, some of it has been entertaining to certain people. Some of it has been divisive. Some of it has told many things. Almost none of it was Star Trek in any term that you could actually apply the definition, the defining nature of calling a thing Star Trek. What that was once is not what this is.
There's nothing about this show that's Star Trek.
Except a few names and places.
It drives me absolutely insane that Kurtzman had the sack to put that title on this show. It's one of the reasons why I try to refer to it as nothing but STD, because that's what it is. But hallelujah.
I take exception. Before you go on, put a pin in that hallelujah.
Wait. Do you think this gives herpes a bad name?
No, it very well may. But saying that Kurtzman had the sack, I take exception to that. I don't think the man has enough equipment down there to consider himself eligible for the term that we might share between us. But beyond that point, it wasn't sack at all. It was that idea that he was given this jewel. I mean, even from the point of view of Star Trek has always been, it has been a pariah in the past to care about Star Trek, to be interested in it, but it has been a jewel. It has been a thing of beauty, a thing that has created marvelous theater, a thing that has created significant entertainment in so many different ways and versions from so many different creators who cared at one time for the material.
Now, Lord Thoth, he doesn't deserve that title either.
Maybe
because
not.
at least snowflakes are beautiful and can make beautiful things sometimes.
Oh, that's true.
No,
I wouldn't want to.
I'm not
I
going
wouldn't
to
want to
give
besmirch
him
that.
the dignity included in the name Snowflake because there's no beauty in what Kurtzman puts together. None whatsoever.
To take that hidden jewel that Star Trek once was and to crack it, break it into pieces, epoxy it back together,
I wouldn't even say he's used epoxy. It's more like baling wire and string. Maybe a little.
Well, he probably
gum.
tried that at first, and there's a bunch of that in there, and it's all added to the majesty of it. Just look at it. Look at it. And did all these things, rolled it around in a chicken coop, got it all nice and shat upon, and trolled it out. Had a few dozen horses piss on it, and that trotted it out for people, and put a bunch of glitter on it since it all sticks to it. Now it's nice and slimy. And
I think they got the cow pies on there before the glitter, right?
Possibly. I mean, while they were rolling it out for the horses to piss on it, I think that might have been part of it. But all the glitter and the shininess and the things like that, and then putting great big huge floodlights on it, so all the glitter like sparkles in your face and you can't really look at it, but still smells like shit. But it's got a hell of a lot of lens flares coming off of it.
Well, those are helped out by the glitter. It really makes the lens flares really pop when you've got the glitter on there.
Look at my beautiful creation that tells you everything you need to know about racism and the patriarchy and the beauty that is intersectional femininity, and every box is checked. Just look at all the boxes checked on it.
They checked 2 new boxes this week, Draco. They came out and they made a big, huge announcement that they got 2 really important new characters for STD Season 3. And by God, they're non-binary and transgender, and that's the first time in Star Trek history that they've ever dealt with that. And you know what? I couldn't help but thinking, well, fuck you, Kurtzman and STD, because that is bullshit. That is not the first time that Star Trek has dealt with those things, and they dealt with them goddamn directly. There's an episode in TNG where Riker actually ends up starting to fall in love with a member of an alien species who is an agendered species because they wiped out gender in their society thousands of years before. But there were still some who would express male and female tendencies. And Riker and you cannot describe it as anything but gender non-binary. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. You're talking. I mean, someone told me about this episode you're talking about, and that woman who they got to play that role, and it was a woman, so it wasn't like, oh, Riker is actually with a transgender character.
This is the non-binary one, Draco. This is the non-binary one.
Non-binary and these are actual characters, and you cannot appropriate from them they did not get the chance to play these roles. They deserve to have these roles. You cannot appropriate that with a different act.
Yeah.
Okay, I can only do that for so long, and then I gotta come back.
You lose that voice says too much. But Lord correctly named the episode. It's called The Outcast. It's in, if I remember correctly, it is in season 5 of TNG. And I believe it's right about episode 19 or so, give or take an episode or two, right?
You nail that home. Yes, you are right. They brought that up before because we could bring these things up before, and you did not have to check. You did not have to check these check boxes. You did not have to talk about appropriation and representation as if we weren't already doing those things, because all this stuff that they try and all these stuff that they say, you come out with these articles from the access media mentioning these things and bringing them up and saying, oh, look at this, they're doing it for the first time ever, and it's so beautiful and it's so wonderful.
Yeah.
And it has already been represented. But the thing is that
And
they
they
won't
did
go
it
back to the better product.
They did
To
it
the better
better,
product.
and they did it honestly. And my God, there was so much nuance to that episode.
Not to mention, it's driven home in that episode because at the end of it, their which is happens to be their oligarchy forces her back onto their own path. So the thing is, it's not a happy ending. It doesn't come out the way that you would want the happy ending, Star Trek happy ending, to come out of it. No, the oligarchy gets their wishes, and she goes right back to being a good little conformist. And
they wiped her out.
We look at this from our perspective and say, that right there is fucked up. That right there, that right there, we cannot stand with that. And that represents more than standing and saying, we are going to use these characters because they are now represented and they can be seen.
Yes.
It's along the same lines of saying you can't have Scarlett Johansson play a transgender character because she isn't one. Why? Couldn't she shine a bigger light on it? Because she's got a following, she's got more people that might actually be able to show a broader sense because she doesn't know it from her own personal experience.
And what do adult pretenders do for a living? What do they do for a living? It's acting. For a living, they pretend to be other people. Yes, you want the biggest goddamn star you can to portray that role because it is, by God, the best way to do exactly what Draco said, and that's shine a light on it. I feel deeply in my being for people who are in that situation where there is something that their outward expression of who they are is not the same as what's inside them. That is somebody who is in pain. That is somebody who is going to be subject to a lot of ridicule in society. And one of the best things you can do to help a person like that, number one, recognize that they are a person. First and foremost, above and beyond everything, there is a person behind that. And you treat that person with respect. And if you need to try to project that message of telling to people to recognize that these are not evil people because of whatever, it doesn't matter what caused it, but there's something going on that's causing this very deep identity issue with them. And if you want to make sure that more and more people understand that and can empathize with that and can be kind and compassionate, which is what is most important, having a big name, be the person to do it really matters. I don't know. I'm sorry.
The stuff has been done. There's so many of these things, so many of these ideas. They want to virtue signal and they want to state on these first that they're talking about. And
yep.
The thing is that they aren't first to the race. They're usually not 10th or 12th or 50th. But the thing is that it's part of the personalized narrative, that they're going to do something to change about this. This is where they've been on, and at least as far as the idea of the political landscape and how that has affected all of our media and all of our appreciation of this thing, that they were going to put out things there that would not only preach, they would be referential because we are moving in this direction. And that right side of history, we have been moving so far, so fast toward a better future. And
yes, when
a few things do not turn out the way that a few people want, that we make these humongous backsteps, proving once again that we are still flawed human beings and we're still going to screw up with our material. And here you just got more examples of that they can't do this stuff, that they can't believe that we can be greater than this, that they can't believe that an actor can act a role and that it's okay to get a good actor to play a role, to bring in more people, to understand the plight of a person. I mean, you can even do the ultimate
Mhm.
right thing. Kurtzman once said that he believed he writes more. He thinks that he writes well for women. I got something to tell you, Kurtzman. Hey, Alex, 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 you don't know
Just between
women.
us. Just between
You
us.
aren't a woman. You don't know women. You can't write women. You don't understand women. Stop writing women. Jeez.
The guy, he's just clueless. He doesn't understand women. God,
because
the
that's where
women
we
that
are. He believes that stuff. He believes what he's saying. He believes what it is, and believes it so much that or we're saying all these things about him. So he might never hear, might never matter. But the thing is that to be that deluded and to use this material for platform and to say these things and to be so unable to make even a good story, because we get back to that, the good story that would
Yep.
even make people think about the thing that you're so interested in getting across.
Yeah. You know, the other thing though is to back to the point that we were talking about at the beginning of this stream. We said just tell us good stories, right? Those 5 simple words that make everybody happy. It doesn't matter if you are radical left wing. It doesn't matter if you are radical right wing. It doesn't matter if you're a crazy nutso libertarian like me. All parts of the spectrum, every single one of us wants to be told a good story. And when you tell a good story, you can get these kind of things across and you have people flock to it. And Kurtzman can't tell a good story. It goes back to, we're talking about, with this, The Outcast, right? TNG didn't have to advertise about the non-binary alien race that was going to be featured in that episode. You know why they didn't have to tell you about it? Because they just fucking did it. They fucking did it, and they did it well, and it made everybody who watched that sympathetic to Soren. And and then you also had a really interesting role for Picard in that episode, where he was in a way taking an almost narrator third person viewpoint to it, and providing some guidance and counseling to Riker's personal trauma with what was going on. And they didn't have to throw it in your face that this was a story about non-binary people. They just did it. And you know what? Everybody got the point. Everybody got the point. And that's what good storytelling does for you. You don't have to
storytelling.
You don't have to throw it into people's faces. Yeah, and Lord Thoth, exactly, man. They end it by destroying her, and the show was about, that particular show was about gender identity. There is nothing more than, I mean, that's what the show is about, for Christ's sake, and about letting an individual express it in whatever way was natural and correct to them. And I mean, people talk about, they say, oh, us old Trek fans that don't like STD and Picard, we just don't like it when there's, messages. Fuck you. Yes, we did. I loved this episode. It was so human. It was amazing, and it touched me because I could feel for the people, the characters, first and foremost, who you saw as individual beings. And when you can connect with and care about an individual being, regardless of whether that being is an alien species or a human or what have you, every one of them has a fundamental underlying humanity that we can connect with. At Umbrella Academy, the character that I connected with almost the most was Allison. Why did I connect with her? Because she's separated from her child. I live 3 states away from my children most of the time, and I get to see them far too infrequently. And so I connected with her so strongly because she was experiencing something that I experienced. She's a Black woman movie star. Okay, I'm a
Exactly. How could you connect with her? She's female. How could you connect with her? How can you connect with her? She's Black. Why would you possibly have a connection with her? That you couldn't find something in a character that you cleave to, that you're interested in, that you care about. These people do not see it. They see it as a 1-to-1 ratio, and when they can't get the 1-to-1 ratio, they are apologetic for their own inadequacy in representing it, but not in anyone else's.
Yeah, and one of the great things about an ensemble show is exactly what Lord Thoth is saying right here, where he says he connected with Five. I mean, for whatever reason about the character of Five, there was something, unless he's just pulling our chains, there's something about the character that Thoth connected with, right? Because each of them were individuals with real stories and backgrounds and things that were important about them. And that's how an audience connects to a show, and stop being an identity and start being a person. And that's how we connect. I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking crazy.
You'd think you were in today's climate. Obviously, that's what they probably prefer, that you give up, believe you're crazy, go away, and we'll just make our we'll just add more onto our platform. After all, we got all of the access media yelling about how happy they are that we're doing this for the first time ever.
There you go, man. All right. Well, we are rolling up on 2 hours here, Draco, and we are getting dangerously close to the start of the Inquisition.
Yeah. Well, when Gary will be there, when he's good and ready. Do not try the patience of wizards. They are subtle and quick to anger.
Yeah, exactly, Lord Thoth. It's a great story when you see pieces of yourself on the screen. And anybody who is enjoying, I think particularly in a long-running TV show, there's a connection to somebody, and you feel that. Well, hey, Jaffo, welcome aboard, buddy. Glad you made it.
You made it. You made it before we left.
Unfortunately, we are just wrapping up, brother. But I will have, will move the stream to unlisted, so you can use the same link to continue to access it. And I will also re-upload it in video form, probably sometime this evening. But Draco, as we're wrapping up, any final words? I mean, Christ, we only talked about like 2 out of like 5 topics I had tallied up. But
oh, I guess we broke it then. We were supposed to do far more. Well, guys, I don't really have any more to add. I mean, you're going to get a lot more if you enjoy watching another video from the Fandom Menace. And of course, this evening we are going to have the Inquisition to troll up in and hang out in the chat, perhaps.
I suspect they'll be chatting boys a little bit tonight.
Indeed,
I have a feeling.
I expect it. Not to mention, we'll definitely have some of those. We got a nice critical tongue on that one from Gary. He'll be able to know exactly where we might be deviating more than is comfortable, or if they really did hit the mark the way we seem to appreciate it.
Yeah, and Lord Thoth has said earlier that to paraphrase you, they've certainly taken liberties, but but you are pleasantly surprised. So, I mean, for somebody who's got the source material and was a fan of it, like, that's a pretty good endorsement to me. I'm sure he takes issue with more things than you and I do, Draco. But if he can still say he's pleasantly surprised, I mean, all right. I think we're all generally in agreement that we've got a pretty good show.
Absolutely.
All righty. So, if by God, we are 2 hours in and we have maintained, for a channel with 50 subs, 10 viewers for almost the entire stream, I got to tell you, that is really, really awesome. It has been very cool having everybody in here. Lord Thoth, the wrench for the channel, thank you so much for being here and listening and participating. And for those of you who maybe weren't as active in the chat, don't be shy. We love having the comments to interact with, because doing that is a big part of what makes the show. You know, it's not just Draco and I and any other folks who join us for these streams that make the show happen, but it's that interaction with y'all that really makes it good and fun. And particularly if we've got a question, y'all can answer it. I mean, that helps a hell of a lot instead of us having to Google it. So, you know.
Geek out with us. Why don't you?
There you go. Hell yes. Well, thank you everybody very, very much for your time today. And we will see you again very, very soon. And I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. We'll catch you in the chat in the Inquisition, I hope. Good night.